Have you ever sat there, thinking about starting something, but not moving? You tell yourself, I'll begin when I feel ready. But that moment never really comes. Days pass. Then weeks. And slowly, something inside you starts to feel heavy, like you're stuck in your own life. Here's the truth most people don't realize. Discipline ends waiting. Not motivation. Not perfect timing. Discipline. And once you understand this, everything begins to shift. You keep telling yourself that you're just waiting for the right time. Maybe when things calm down, when you feel more confident, when everything aligns a little better. It sounds reasonable, even responsible. But if you look closely, that right time keeps shifting. Every time you get close to starting, something new appears, another reason to delay, another condition that isn't perfect yet. And slowly, without realizing it, waiting becomes a habit. It begins to feel normal. The deeper truth is that what you call timing is often fear in a quieter form. It doesn't show up loudly, it shows up as hesitation, as careful thinking, as just one more day. But life doesn't organize itself around perfect moments. Movement creates timing, not the other way around. When you take even a small step, something changes inside you. The resistance softens. The fear becomes manageable. You begin to see that you didn't need perfect conditions, you needed a starting point. And that shift, from waiting to moving, is where your strength begins to return. At the same time, your mind tries to protect you by thinking through every possible outcome. You replay conversations, imagine scenarios, predict failures, and try to prepare for things that haven't even happened. It feels like you're being careful, like you're avoiding mistakes. But overthinking rarely brings clarity. It keeps you in a loop, where every answer creates another question. Have you ever noticed how the more you think, the heavier everything feels? That's because thinking without action builds pressure, not solutions. It gives you the illusion of control while quietly taking away your momentum. The mind starts to believe that thinking is progress, when in reality, it's just delay. What actually moves you forward is action, even when it feels uncertain. When you act, your brain shifts from imagining to responding. You learn in real time instead of predicting endlessly. The noise begins to settle, not because everything is solved, but because you're no longer stuck inside your own head. You've probably noticed how your energy changes from day to day. Some mornings you feel focused, ready, even inspired. On other days, everything feels heavy, and even small tasks seem difficult. When you rely on motivation, your progress becomes tied to these emotional highs and lows. That's why things often start strong but don't last. Motivation feels powerful, but it's inconsistent. It shows up when it wants, and disappears when you need it most. When it's gone, you start questioning yourself, thinking something is wrong with you. But nothing is wrong. You were just depending on something unstable. Discipline works differently. It doesn't ask how you feel before you act. It simply asks whether you're willing to show up. Even in a low mood, even without excitement, you can still take a step. It might not feel impressive, but it builds something far more reliable than motivation ever could. Over time, those small, repeated actions create a sense of control. You begin to trust yourself, not because you always feel ready, but because you move anyway. At the same time, there's a strong pull toward comfort. It feels safe, familiar, and easy to stay where nothing challenges you. You avoid difficult tasks, postpone decisions, and stay within routines that don't demand much from you. On the surface, it feels like peace. But if you sit with it long enough, there's a quiet restlessness underneath. A sense that you're not growing, not moving forward, not becoming who you know you could be. Comfort can protect you, but it can also limit you. It keeps you in a space where nothing goes wrong, but nothing improves either. Growth always asks for some level of discomfort. It might be starting something new, facing uncertainty, or pushing through resistance when you'd rather stop. That discomfort isn't a sign you're doing something wrong. It's often a sign that you're moving beyond your current limits. And when you choose it in small, manageable ways, it begins to feel less threatening. It becomes a path instead of a barrier. The longer you stay in a cycle of waiting, the more it starts affecting how you see yourself. At first, it feels like a simple delay, just a matter of time before you begin. But as days pass, that delay begins to carry meaning. You start questioning your ability to follow through, wondering why you keep holding back. Small promises to yourself go unmet, and each time that happens, something shifts internally. It's not just about the task anymore, it becomes about identity. You begin to feel unreliable in your own eyes. That quiet doubt builds over time, not through failure, but through inaction. It can make even simple decisions feel heavier, because you're carrying the weight of unfinished intentions. What changes this is not a sudden burst of confidence, but consistent action, no matter how small. Each time you do what you said you would do, even in a limited way, you begin to repair that connection with yourself. Trust isn't rebuilt in big moments, it's restored through repeated follow-through. And as that trust returns, your sense of self-worth begins to stabilize, not from external validation, but from your own actions aligning with your intentions. At the same time, a lack of structure often leaves your mind feeling scattered and overwhelmed. When your days have no clear direction, everything starts blending together. Tasks pile up, decisions get postponed, and your attention gets pulled in multiple directions. That mental clutter can create a constant sense of stress, even when nothing urgent is happening. You might find yourself switching between tasks, starting things without finishing them, or feeling restless without knowing why. It's not always about workload, it's about the absence of order. Discipline introduces a kind of quiet structure that your mind responds to. Simple routines, waking up at a set time, committing to a task, following a basic plan, begin to reduce that internal noise. Instead of constantly deciding what to do next, you begin to move through your day with more clarity. That structure doesn't restrict you, it supports you. It creates space for focus, reduces unnecessary stress, and allows your energy to be used more effectively. Over time, this consistency brings a sense of calm, not because everything is perfect, but because your mind is no longer scattered. You might be holding yourself back because you believe that if you're going to start, it has to be done in a big, meaningful way. That it has to look impressive, feel powerful, or produce immediate results. So you wait for the right energy, the right plan, the right moment where everything lines up. But that expectation quietly turns into pressure, and pressure often leads to delay. The truth is, most real progress doesn't begin with something big. It begins with something small and almost unnoticeable. A single step that doesn't feel significant at the time. When you lower the scale, you reduce the resistance. Instead of trying to change everything at once, you allow yourself to begin where you are. One task completed, one action taken, one decision followed through. These small movements start to build momentum, and momentum creates consistency. You begin to realize that progress is not about intensity, it's about continuity. The more you repeat these small actions, the less effort it takes to begin the next one. What once felt difficult starts to feel natural, not because it became easier, but because you became more consistent. At a deeper level, every time you choose to act despite resistance, you're sending a message to yourself about who you are. When you avoid, delay, or withdraw, it also sends a message, often one that reinforces doubt. Over time, these repeated choices shape your identity. You don't just see yourself as someone who hesitates, you start to believe that's who you are. This is why discipline goes beyond productivity or results. It becomes a form of self-respect in action. It's how you demonstrate to yourself that your goals matter, that your time matters, and that your effort is worth showing up for. You don't need external recognition for this shift to happen. It builds quietly, internally, through the decisions you make when no one is watching. Each time you follow through, even in a small way, you strengthen that sense of alignment between intention and action. That alignment creates a steadiness within you, where you no longer depend on mood or circumstance to define your direction. At the end of the day, waiting feels safe, but it slowly takes your power. And the moment you choose discipline, everything begins to shift. Because discipline ends waiting. Not instantly. Not perfectly. But steadily, and truly. So ask yourself today, where have you been waiting, instead of moving? Start there. Share your thoughts below. How are you moving forward today? And remember, you don't need to feel ready. You just need to begin.